Deontay Wilder has had his fair share of issues with Mike Tyson over the years. He has accused Mike Tyson of being a hater, and at one stage he even said that he would have knocked a prime Mike Tyson out. And funny enough, I've seen an increasing number of Deontay Wilder fans who are actually comparing him to a prime Mike Tyson. One of them in my Facebook group yesterday said that Wilder is like Mike Tyson and Joshua is like Frank Bruno. Many boxing fans have got a reckless disregard for facts. But to me personally, facts matter. And as such, I want to show you guys what the facts are with regards to Mike Tyson's career in comparison to Deontay Wilder's career. And you can make your own minds up about whether there's any similarities there. So let's start off with Mike Tyson. Tyson won his first world title in his 28th fight. By his 31st fight, he was already undisputed champion. So in his first 4 world title fights, Mike Tyson unified the whole division, undisputed. Bear in mind that Mike Tyson was not signed to Don King at that point. He was co-managed by Jim Jacobs and Bill Cayton. And they had Mike Tyson, the youngest heavyweight champion in the world, when he beat Trevor Berbick in his first world title fight. Don King controlled the whole division. You would think that Jim Jacobs and Bill Cayton might keep Tyson away from Don King's heavyweights who held the other belts. But no. Cayton and Jacobs were so confident in Mike Tyson's ability that they put him straight in there with all Don King's best heavyweights. And Tyson ran straight through all of them. That's how confident the team was. That's how confident Tyson was. There was no avoiding this contender or that contender, turning down career high money for unifications, none of that. As much as Mike Tyson fans go overboard at times in terms of how highly they rate him historically, he fought everybody he was supposed to fight when he was in his prime. All the best around during that time period. Now, if we compare that to Deontay Wilder, he fought for his first world title in his 33rd fight. Unlike Mike Tyson, he never even attempted to unify with the other champion at the time who held the other 3 belts, Vladimir Klitschko. In fact, his manager, Shelley Finkel, came out publicly and said that they were going to keep Wilder away from Vladimir Klitschko. It gets worse, because when Klitschko was deposed and the belts got fragmented, Parker became a champion, and of course AJ became a champion. Deontay Wilder never unified with Parker. He also turned down career high money several times to face the #1 WBC challenger, Dillian Whyte. And then he turned down $100 million and the chance to become undisputed and fight Anthony Joshua. So let me ask you this question. Do you think a prime Mike Tyson would have done any of that? Do you think he would have avoided Vladimir Klitschko for years? Do you think he would have avoided the Dillian Whyte fight for career high money? Do you think he would have neglected to fight Joseph Parker? Do you think he would have turned down $100 million and a chance to be undisputed against Anthony Joshua? Based upon what Tyson actually did in his career, do you think he would have made the same moves as Wilder? Yes, Wilder is a long reigning champion, but he's only ever had 1 belt at a time. Mike Tyson was undisputed within his first 4 world title fights. Okay, to me, it seems very clear that Tyson's team were far more confident in his ability than Deontay Wilder's team are in him. He was moved more confidently and more boldly than Wilder has been moved. And I'm talking about Tyson in his prime here, because after he came out of jail, it got a little bit more political when he was with Don King. But in his prime, they moved this guy with real confidence. Do you see any comparison in terms of the way Wilder's been moved? Do you honestly think that Tyson's championship run in the late 80s is on the same level as Wilder's, or is it levels and levels above Wilder's? Because I know what I think, but you guys tell me what you think. All right, so let's move on over to Frank Bruno and compare his career to Anthony Joshua's. Now, what similarities exist between Bruno and Joshua? Well, they're both black. They're both British. Both of them, you could say, don't recover that well when they're hurt. Both have been accused of being stiff, but you go and have a look at Frank Bruno and try and tell me that he's as athletic as Anthony Joshua. Try and tell me that he has Joshua's hand speed. Try and tell me that he moves around the ring as well as Joshua. Go and watch his fights and try and tell me that. Because you must have some extremely thick Mr. Magoo rose-tinted glasses on if you're trying to tell me that Bruno and AJ are similar in terms of their athletic ability. It's night and day, people. Frank Bruno, in 45 fights, had 5 world title fights and he lost 4 of them. His first professional loss was to Bone Crusher Smith. At the time, Bone Crusher Smith was a fringe contender who was pretty much unknown. He knocked Frank Bruno out in the 10th and final round. Smith went on to become WBA World Heavyweight Champion, but let's be real, Smith was one of the weakest World Heavyweight Champions in history. Bruno, as I say, lost 4 of his 5 world title fights. The one world title fight which he did win was against Oliver McCall. And even in that fight, he was nearly knocked out in the 12th round. So that's Frank Bruno's career. Again, nothing against Bruno. Always came across as a really likable, jovial character. But if we're just looking at the facts, did he achieve as much as Anthony Joshua? And Bruno had 45 fights. AJ has only had 23 fights so far. Bruno had a version of the heavyweight title for 1 fight. Okay, the WBC. That's it. No successful defenses. Anthony Joshua, on the other hand, in 23 fights, he's had, how many world title fights is it? Is it 8? Let's count them. I think it's 8 world title fights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 8. 8 world title fights, 1, 7. He's had 3 belts when Bruno only had 1. He's fought 2 unifications. Bruno had no unifications. I mean, what else can we say, people? There is not much comparison, really. AJ has achieved far more in 23 fights than Frank Bruno ever did in 45. Those are the cold, hard facts. Yeah? Now, to be fair, Bruno did lose to good men. He lost to Lennox Lewis. But Lewis wasn't in his prime in terms of his, technical ability and all that kind of stuff when Frank Bruno lost to him. So he did lose to Lewis, but that was not the very best of Lennox Lewis. He also lost to Mike Tyson second time around, and that was not the best of Mike Tyson because Mike Tyson, not too long after that, got knocked out by an over-the-hill Evander Holyfield. And of course, he did lose to a prime Mike Tyson. I know the Tyson fans are going to say Tyson wasn't in his prime, but look, he was still very young, still undefeated and whatnot. He was no longer with Rooney, so I'm going to keep calling him a prime Mike Tyson at that time. Was it Tyson's best performance? No, but it is what it is. So that's Frank Bruno's career compared to Anthony Joshua's career. On paper, Joshua has achieved way more. And if you just look at them stylistically, if you look at them athletically, there is a vast gulf between the two of them in terms of what they can actually do in the ring. AJ can shorten his punches up and throw combinations much better than Frank Bruno ever could. Bruno was a long-range guy who would stick behind the jab, who was much slower than Joshua. Even though Joshua was bigger than Bruno, Bruno was way slower, way more robotic. If you think AJ ain't got a back foot game, man, you're going to wince when you see Frank Bruno because he doesn't have any back foot game at all. It's not that his back foot game was bad. He literally didn't exist. So, yeah, nothing against Big Frank. Always a great character, always a great trier. But, yeah, you have a look at the film in the ring, people. And again, you'd have to have some Mr. Magoo thickness, rose-tinted glasses to try to tell me that AJ fights like Bruno. That comparison is, look, it's absurd as far as I'm concerned. I'm trying to allow you guys to make your own minds up, but that comparison to me is just so absurd. the muscularity, the British thing, that's about where it ends. And the fact that neither guy recovers that well from being hurt. But achievement-wise, no comparison. Stylistically, athletically, no comparison. You know, is what it is. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's happening. I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.